It is a beautiful day today. The sun is shining outside. The problem is that the coronavirus is also outside doing its worst. As a result, many people are asking some pretty big questions of life. I had a conversation with a friend just today who was making that point. He's a Christian, and he was telling me that a number of people, a number of his friends are talking to him about Christianity, people who've never been interested in it before. Now, if you want to understand Christianity, you've got to understand the cross of Jesus Christ and why he died. That takes us right to the heart of what Christians believe. And that also takes us to chapter 5 of this book. This is a book that a friend and I wrote some years back, If You Could Ask God One Question, and it tackles the most frequently asked questions that people ask when they begin to think about Christianity. And so the 5th chapter and the 5th video today, asking God this question: if Jesus really was your son, how come he got killed? It was a question that was asked at the very time Jesus was dying. A crowd of people had gathered around him while he was being crucified, and they threw this at him. They said, if you really are the Son of God, then why don't you come down from the cross and save yourself? Now, why didn't he save himself? There's one of two options. Either he couldn't save himself, or he chose not to. If he couldn't save himself, then his death was just a tragic accident, the end of a beautiful life. But if he chose not to, then his death was the fulfillment of a plan. It was deliberate. Now, which one you come down on, of course, depends on who you think Jesus was. We were thinking about that in the first chapter of this book and in the first video that I did. Just before Jesus died, just a few hours before he died, some soldiers came to arrest him, and he had some of his followers, his disciples, with him. And as the soldiers arrived, one of his disciples, one of his followers, took out their sword and was going to try and defend Jesus. And Jesus told him to put the sword away. And he said some remarkable words then. He said, do you not think that if I wanted to, I couldn't call 12 legions of angels to come and rescue me, to defend me? Now, it's a remarkable thing. One angel in the Bible is enough to strike terror into the hearts of any individual. But he says 12 legions of angels, thousands and thousands, 30, 40,000 angels he could call at his disposal to come and rescue him. It seems that Jesus wasn't lacking power to save himself, but he deliberately chose not to save himself from the cross, because the cross was his plan in order to save not himself, but us. We were thinking a couple of videos back that we have a great problem. Our problem is that we're not good. We're not the people we ought to be. We have rebelled against God. If that's not bad enough, we thought last time about God being a God of justice, and he does need to punish wickedness. That puts us in a precarious state. We're not good. We rebel against God. He must punish us. But the other thing about God, and the primary thing about God that you need to know, is that he was and is a very loving God. And in his great love, he decided that he would come and take the punishment for us. So one of the most famous verses in the Bible says, God so loved the world that he sent his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Jesus was sent in order to deal with our punishment. In the Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia in the USA, there is a gravestone that has these words inscribed on it: I want to stand where you're standing. And then underneath those words tells one incident that happened during the American Civil War, a war that, as you know, was fought between the Yankees and the Confederates. And the story on the gravestone is about a Yankee looking down the barrel of a gun as he was about to shoot a Confederate standing in a firing squad. And the Yankee, as he looked at the Confederate, suddenly realized that he knew the man. He threw his gun down and he marched over to his captain and he said, I can't shoot that man. I know him. I know his wife. I know his family. If I shoot him, I not only end his life, but I end theirs as well. And after a bit of discussion, the Yankee walked over to the Confederate. He took off the blindfold and he said to the Confederate those words, I want to stand where you're standing. And the Confederate went free, and moments later the Yankee was shot in the firing squad. Now that is just a little picture, just a tiny example of what Jesus did for us. We deserve the punishment from God, but Jesus said effectively, I want to stand where you're standing. And he went and stood in our place, and he died on the cross, taking the punishment that you deserve and that I deserve. It was his deliberate plan to save us, and that is why he didn't, as it were, save himself. Well, there's a little introduction to the cross. It is right at the heart of Christianity. If you want to know more about that or any other of these questions, then you can get a free copy of this ebook, If You Could Ask God One Question. The publishers, the Good Book Company, are making it free until the end of June. So if you go to the Good Book Company and then search If You Could Ask God One Question ebook, you can download that for free. I hope you find it useful.